What women never see. 7 secrets men must guard. Welcome to Ancient Stoic Secrets, where we uncover timeless wisdom to help modern men live with strength, clarity, and unshakable presence. Listen carefully, my friend, because what I am about to share with you may challenge everything you've been taught about women, about honesty, and about how a man should carry himself. We live in an age where men are constantly told to open up, to be vulnerable, to put it all out there. And on the surface, it sounds noble, even romantic. But here's the paradox. The very words you think will bring you closer to her may be the same words that quietly destroy her respect for you. Think about it. How many times have you seen a man pour out his heart, confess every fear, every doubt, every scar from the past, only to watch the woman in his life slowly pull away, her gaze colder than before? He thought his honesty would earn love, but instead it eroded attraction. Why does this happen? Because respect and desire are fragile, and once broken, they rarely return. This is not about deceiving women. It's not about pretending you're made of stone. It's about discipline. It's about choosing carefully what you share, because once spoken, words cannot be taken back. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, carried the weight of plagues, betrayal, and endless war. Yet where did he place his fears? Not in the ears of his people, not even in the arms of his wife, but in the pages of his private journal, where they became fuel for his strength, not a burden for others to carry. And here's a question for you. If Leonidas, standing before 300 Spartans at the gates of Thermopylae, had confessed, "I don't think we can win, I'm afraid," would his men have followed him into battle? Of course not. Strength is not the absence of fear. It is the discipline of carrying it without collapsing and showing the world only your resolve. That is why today I will share with you 7 things a man should never confess to a woman, not because you must be dishonest, but because there are truths that belong to your discipline, your brothers, your mentors, or your journal, not to the woman whose admiration you want to preserve. Every careless confession is like a crack in your armor, and once she sees it, she will never see you the same again. So lean in. Ask yourself, do you want temporary relief today or lifelong respect tomorrow? The choice begins with silence.
1. Guard your insecurities. Every man carries insecurities. Maybe it's the fear of not being enough, the quiet worry about losing everything, or the gnawing thought that he might fail when it matters most. These feelings are human. They're real. But here's the crucial truth. The moment you hand those insecurities to a woman, something in her changes forever. She may hug you in that moment. She may whisper, "It's okay, I'm here." But deep down, her image of you begins to shift because she wants to feel safe with you. She wants to believe that when storms come, you'll be the rock she can lean on, not the man who needs her to hold him together. Think of Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, faced betrayal, plague, endless war. Do you imagine him standing before his generals saying, "I don't think I'm strong enough"? Never. He carried his doubts into his private journal, where he sharpened them into wisdom. His insecurities were fuel for his growth, not a burden for others to carry. Let me ask you, have you ever shared your deepest fears with someone, hoping they'd make you feel lighter, only to regret it later? That's because once those words leave your mouth, they no longer belong to you. They live in the other person's memory. And in the toughest moments of life, those memories shape how they see you. This doesn't mean you should bottle everything up until you explode. Stoicism isn't about becoming an emotional statue. It's about finding the right place for your struggles. Write them down. Take them to a trusted brother, a mentor, even a therapist. But do not place them in the hands of the woman whose respect and admiration you want to keep alive. A man who disciplines his insecurities transforms them into strength. A man who broadcasts them too freely erodes the very presence that makes him attractive. The question is simple. Do you want to feel a temporary relief today or earn lasting respect tomorrow? Guard your insecurities. They are not for her ears. They are for your mastery. 2. Never reveal your number. The second truth a man must guard is this: never tell a woman how many women you've been with. At some point, she may ask. She might lean in with a playful smile. So, how many? Or she may disguise it as an innocent question about your past. But no matter how you answer, you lose. If you say the number is high, she pictures you as a restless player, a man who can't be loyal. Even if she laughs, that thought lingers. If you say the number is low, she questions your desirability. She wonders if other women even wanted you in the first place. Either way, honesty becomes a trap. Think of Julius Caesar. Do you believe he sat across from Cleopatra, listing the women he had conquered? Of course not. His presence, his ambition, his strength defined him, not a tally of past lovers. Or think about your own life. Does telling her a number change how you treat her today? Does it increase her respect for you? The answer is always no.
Here's the deeper truth. When a woman asks that question, she isn't really looking for information. She's testing your composure. She wants to see if you'll fold under pressure, or if you'll respond with charm, confidence, and self-control. So instead of confessing, redirect with mystery. A simple line like, "Enough to know what I want, and wise enough to never settle for less." That answer disarms the test. It gives her no ammunition, but keeps her intrigued. You're not lying, but you're not handing over your power either. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we should act according to virtue, not for the approval of others. Your past partners are irrelevant. What matters is the strength, direction, and integrity you live with today. Women are drawn to presence, not confessions. They crave the mystery of a man who knows who he is without needing to explain himself. So remember this: silence is magnetic. Mystery is power. When she leans in with that playful question, your respect will not come from the number you confess, but from the strength you hold in silence. 3. Guard the truth about your money. Money. Few things can destroy a man's frame faster than carelessly revealing the full truth about his finances. At some point, she may ask, "So, how much do you make?" And it feels like a simple question, doesn't it? But the moment you answer with a number, whether it's high or low, you hand over control of how she values you. If you admit you make very little, she may begin to see you as limited, even if you're building something great in silence. If you reveal you make a lot, her expectations rise instantly, and you become measured by what you can provide instead of who you are. Either way, you've stepped into a box she creates in her mind, a box defined by numbers instead of character. Think of the great kings of history. Imagine a ruler standing before his people, announcing exactly how much gold sits in his treasury. How long before envy, betrayal, and manipulation begin to circle? A wise man doesn't flaunt his treasure. He lets his vision, his leadership, and his ambition speak louder than coins. The Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." True strength is not the size of your paycheck, but the discipline with which you rule over it. Ask yourself, do you really think men like Rockefeller or Musk ever leaned across a dinner table and said, Here's the exact number in my bank account. Never. They let their direction and ambition do the talking. And maybe you've experienced this yourself. Maybe you told someone exactly how much you earn, and suddenly you felt the dynamic shift, like you'd given them a ruler to measure you by. That's because once you put yourself in numbers, you're no longer a man, you're just a figure. So when the question comes, and it will, redirect with vision. A simple answer like, enough to cover what matters, and I'm building more every day. That's all. It's confident, it's focused, and it preserves your mystery. Because she doesn't want to carry a calculator in her mind. She wants to feel your drive, your ambition, your presence as a man who knows where he's going. Money is a tool, not your identity. Protect it. Show discipline. Show ambition. Let your vision define you, not a dollar amount. The moment you reveal too much, you risk losing the very power that makes you desirable. 4. Never speak your deepest fears. Every man carries fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of losing everything he's worked for. It's part of being human. But here's the lesson. The moment you put those fears into words before a woman, something shifts in her heart. She may comfort you in that moment, whispering, "I understand." But later, when life tests you both, those words echo in her mind. And she no longer sees the rock she once leaned on. She remembers the cracks you revealed. Think of Marcus Aurelius again. He ruled during plagues, endless wars, betrayals at every corner. Do you think he never felt fear? Of course he did. But he carried it with discipline. He wrote about it in his meditations, sharpening fear into wisdom. And because he never confessed it publicly, the world saw only his courage. Or think of the Spartans at Thermopylae. Do you admire them because they felt no fear? Or because they stood firm in silence, even while fear raged in their hearts? Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the discipline of carrying it without letting it spill out and weaken those around you. Now, let me ask you, have you ever told someone about a fear, maybe of losing your job or not being enough, and later wished you hadn't? That's because fear, once spoken, doesn't just live in you, it begins to live in them too. And the woman who once leaned on your strength now questions whether she can. Stoic wisdom reminds us, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. When you share your fears carelessly, you plant that imagination in her mind too. She begins to fear with you instead of trusting in you. And that is the fastest way to lose her trust. So what do you do with fear? You write it down, you confront it in silence. You share it with a trusted brother or mentor if you must, but you never hand it to the woman you want to admire you. Because she doesn't need your collapse, she needs your courage. She doesn't need to see the storm in your chest, she needs to feel the steadiness of your presence. In the end, fear is universal, but the men who master it in silence become unforgettable. The men who confess it too freely lose respect before they even realize it. The choice is yours.
Every man has felt it, the sting of betrayal. Maybe it was the woman you gave your heart to who walked away with someone else. Maybe it was a friend you trusted who turned their back when you needed them most. Betrayal cuts deep. And because it hurts so much, many men convince themselves that sharing those scars with a new woman will win her sympathy, even loyalty. But here's the hard truth. It almost never does. The moment you say, "My ex cheated on me," or "Women have used me before," she records that information. And quietly, something shifts. Instead of seeing you as stronger for surviving it, she wonders, if other women didn't value him, why should I? You think you're showing honesty. What she perceives is weakness. You think you're earning trust. What she feels is doubt. The Stoic Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." When you relive betrayal through your words, you give it life again. You drag ghosts of the past into your present, and those ghosts begin to haunt the way she sees you. Think of Alexander the Great. He was betrayed by generals, by allies, even by those closest to him. But he never stood before his men to complain, "I've been wronged, I've been deceived." No, he rose taller. He adapted. He pressed forward as if nothing could stop him. That is why his men followed him across continents. Because he didn't carry betrayal as a badge. He buried it and turned it into fuel. Now let me ask you, have you ever shared your heartbreak with someone new, hoping they'd treat you better because of it? Did it work? Or did it quietly place you in a weaker light? Women do not want to compete with ghosts of your past. They want to feel you have conquered them, buried them, and left them powerless. Stoic wisdom reminds us, life is short. Too short to waste retelling stories of how you were wronged. The strongest men don't speak of betrayal. They show the lessons they've learned through their actions. So when the temptation comes to confess your heartbreak, pause. Ask yourself, will this story make her respect me more or less? Will it make me appear as a man who overcame or as a victim who still bleeds? Here's the truth. Respect is not earned by crying over betrayal. It is earned by refusing to let betrayal chain you, by standing tall, unbroken, moving forward without needing to explain your pain. In her eyes, the man who can carry scars in silence shines brighter than the man who puts his wounds on display. Because strength is not just about surviving betrayal. It's about never letting it define you. 6. Never confess where you are weakest. Every man wrestles with weakness. For some, it's discipline. They can't stay consistent with their goals. For others, it's addiction, bad habits, or the struggle to control their impulses. Weakness is part of the human experience. But here's the truth. The moment you confess your unmastered weakness to a woman, you etch an image in her mind that is almost impossible to erase. Picture this. You tell her, "I can't control myself when it comes to drinking," or "I always fail when I try to stay disciplined." Outwardly, she may smile, nod, even comfort you. But inwardly, a question begins to form. If he can't master himself, how can he lead me? How can he protect us when life gets hard? Women are not drawn to men who surrender to their weaknesses. They're drawn to men who fight, who stumble but keep moving forward, who show scars from battles already won. Think of Winston Churchill. He battled crippling depression, what he called his black dog. But he didn't stand before his people and say, "I am drowning in despair." No, he rose taller. He transformed it into resolve. And because he showed only his courage, he gave his nation the strength to endure war. Or look at the Stoics themselves. Did Marcus Aurelius write daily meditations so that others would see his flaws and pity him? No. He wrote them as a private training ground, a way to wrestle with weakness until he grew stronger. His struggles were real, but they were not a performance for others. Now let me ask you, have you ever revealed a flaw you hadn't yet overcome, and noticed how it shifted the way someone saw you? That's because weakness spoken before it's mastered doesn't inspire, it diminishes. Respect fades when weakness is broadcasted before it's conquered. This doesn't mean you must hide your humanity. It means timing matters. Share the story only when the battle has been won, when the weakness has become a scar, a lesson, a source of strength. Then, and only then, it can inspire.
Until that day, keep your weaknesses private. Work on them in silence. Discipline them in solitude. Turn them into victories behind closed doors. Because in her eyes, it's not perfection that matters. It's mastery. She doesn't need to see the chains you're still trying to break. She needs to see the man who broke them and now stands taller because of it. In the end, freedom is not doing whatever you feel. True freedom, as Epictetus taught, is ruling over your impulses. And the man who rules himself commands respect wherever he goes. So ask yourself, do you want to be remembered as the man enslaved by weakness or the man who conquered it?
So now you know the truths a man must guard if he wants to be respected, desired, and remembered. These aren't games, they aren't tricks, and they aren't about hiding who you really are. They're about discipline, about protecting the parts of yourself that are not meant for every ear. Because here's the reality. One careless confession can change the way a woman sees you forever. She may never say it aloud, but once respect is cracked, it's almost impossible to rebuild. And respect, my friend, is the foundation of love, desire, and trust. Think about the men you admire most. Leaders, fathers, mentors, maybe even figures from history. Do you admire them because they constantly poured out their fears and weaknesses to everyone around them? Or do you admire them because they carried themselves with a presence that felt unshakable, even when storms raged inside? That's the secret of Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, they weren't perfect men. They felt fear, doubt, betrayal, temptation. But they turned those struggles into inner mastery. And in doing so, they inspired others, not with words of weakness, but with the strength of their silence. Now I want you to ask yourself, what legacy are you building? Will you be remembered as the man who confessed every crack in his armor, or the man who walked tall, kept his mystery, and transformed his battles into strength? Women don't want a project to fix. They want a rock to lean on, a man they can trust when life gets heavy. And here's the best part. This isn't just about women. This is about you. About how you show up in every room, every challenge, every storm. When you carry yourself with discipline, when you master yourself, the world responds differently. Opportunities open, respect follows, and attraction, whether from women, peers, or even your own sense of dignity, grows stronger. That's why I created this channel, Ancient Stoic Secrets, to bring you timeless wisdom you can actually use in today's world. Lessons that sharpen your mind, strengthen your presence, and help you live as a man others cannot ignore. So if this message spoke to you, if you felt a shift in the way you see yourself, or if you thought of a brother, a friend, a son who needs to hear this, do me a favor. Hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe to the channel. Not for me, but for yourself and for the men in your life who need these reminders. Every week, I'll be bringing you more insights from the Stoics, practical tools, timeless lessons, and stories that will help you become the kind of man who commands respect without demanding it. The kind of man women admire, friends trust, and enemies can't shake. So join this community, stay with me on this journey. Because the world doesn't need more men who crumble under pressure. It needs men who stand tall, men who lead, men who master themselves before they try to master anything else. Remember, silence is power, mystery is magnetic, and self-mastery is irresistible. Hold your secrets close and hold your power even closer. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stand firm, live with discipline, and never forget, your presence is your greatest gift.